Hello, students. I wanted to go over the assignment. I'm not going to do the detailed assignment because I already went over it in class. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I did add quite a few things and edited a few things. So I wanted to show you, focus on that, and specifically focus on the arguments that you could make while writing this and where to find extra articles because the opposing viewpoint site's doesn't seem to be working anymore in the way we like. So I want to give you an alternative to that. Okay. So just as a quick review, the assignment is basically that you're looking at this case right here, this Evan Miller case. Look at the facts carefully. Can I click on it? There we go. Look at these facts carefully. Figure out which sentence you want to give them. You have two choices. Okay. It's either this one, and this is specifically if you want to have Miller sentenced to a juvenile facility, counseling and rehabilitation till the age of 21, then move to an adult facility for another 5 or 10 years. So he'll get between 12 and 17 years in prison. Or trying as an adult, life in prison, right? And he'll stay in a juvenile section of adult prison, just like in that documentary you saw. And then at 18, he's moved to the adult prison and he stays there for the rest of his life, no possibility of parole. Okay, those are your two choices. Now, you are writing essentially a letter to a judge with the idea that other people are going to be writing letters too with opposite opinions. So you need to be able to counter everything they say in addition to making your point really, really carefully. Now, this is a huge point I want you to understand. You're not just arguing for or against, kids going to prison when they're young or whatever. Everything you say, regardless of what argument you're making, needs to focus on this case. So if you're making the argument that kids' brains aren't, whatever, then you have to make that case and then apply it to this case, this specific case. So if the article says that a teen's judgment is impaired because of their brain, then you have to show using the facts of the case how Evan's judgment was impaired, right? So make sure you apply it. Don't just argue, the arguments like why someone should be imprisoned as an adult or not and tried as an adult. And don't just focus on the case as well. You don't want to just talk about the case, and you have to use evidence, right? You have to have main arguments. So you have to combine the two. If you don't do that, you're going to have a very low grade. Okay, so that's a major point I wanted to make. Let's move on. I already went over the grammar stuff. Now I did update the resources page. So how to create a works cited and works cited example now have links. They didn't before. All the rest of them are the same. I changed some of the wording. So I say, they say, those are those templates where you can copy them word for word until you get to the part where you have to add your own words. All the videos are here. I did find Young Kids Hard Time. I didn't find that before. And then I've changed, number 10 is the big change. I'm no longer putting up opposing viewpoints because I just don't think every time I've gone in, it doesn't work. So what I've done is I've put the login back to EBSCO. EBSCO is the same search engine you use to find the peer-reviewed papers. And I think this will work well. So I'm going to click on EBSCO. And when we copy this login first, so there's your login, the password is password. So if I click on EBSCO, it brings you to this page. Then I'm going to paste the ID, type in password, log in, click on EBSCO host web, click continue, and then you could type in whatever you're looking for. So for example, if you want to just start with juvenile justice, it shows up right here, and we get 17,738 articles. You have a few to choose from. This is a little bit more of an overview. It's not as specific as you probably want. Cycle of juvenile justice, juvenile crime and justice. You might find some things in there, but you're going to have to do quite a bit of work. You probably want to refine your search more. So something like trying juveniles as adults is the first thing that shows up there. Prison break, let's see. This boy's like immaturity, normative competence, and juvenile transfer. How not to punish minors for major crimes. Juvenile justice dilemma. Invest in kids. Survey of police chief. Let's see. So, look through these. This is a good way to go. You could also, if you wanted to go real specific, you know what your arguments are going to be. You could type in like brain development. Teens, or I saw adolescents, and then maybe crime. Let's see if that pulls up anything. 1 out of 3, crime and punishment, give kids a break, kids and criminal responsibility. I mean, those all look like it would be really solid. Any article you find from here is guaranteed to be reliable. You go somewhere else, you're rolling the dice. So let me take away crime and see if we get a few more. We've got 289. Does recent research on adolescent brain development inform mature minor doctrine? Critique of discourses of adolescent brain development. That might be against, it might be saying, hey, maybe it's not as bad as we thought. Should science of adolescent brain development inform public policy? I mean, these would be good articles to look at, okay? So I hope that's helpful. You really need to find some good research that backs up your points. Now, you can use the resources, the articles you read for class. I don't know if the videos are going to help too much, but they could. So let's go back to the prompt. I've got a basic outline here. Pretty basic, right? You need to have a little introduction, introduce yourself, your goal, your main argument, body paragraphs, put the main argument up there, but make sure you apply it. Actually, I'm going to add something here. Use evidence as examples to build ethos. Use that evidence to specifically argue, to specifically discuss what the evidence states, and then provide your own opinion. I'm going to put this in bold because I don't want you to forget this. Discuss evidence and arguments. Underline this part. Should I cap it? And I'm going to underline it. As they pertain to the court case. I cannot emphasize that enough. I mean, I've capitalized it, bolded it, and underlined it. So how can I emphasize it anymore? So that's really important. Then in your conclusion, restate your main argument, emphasize the importance of the decision, and then that's it. And then under other considerations, I'm very specific again about the same thing. Focus on the specific court case, okay? If you're going to use outside articles, don't focus on how they were written or ethos, pathos, logos. Focus on the arguments and how they apply to the court case. If you're going to do a counter argument, present the counter argument, then counter against it, argue against the counter argument, and explain how that applies to the court case. Okay, it's really important. Now, another thing that I've added here, and this is going to be really helpful, the 5 of you that are watching this, arguments to consider. Okay, so I tried to put a bunch of arguments for if you're for trying a person under 18 as a juvenile, and then I put up some arguments if you are thinking about arguing, for trying them under 18 as an adult. Okay, so if it's juvenile, the person's brain is not fully developed. You're going to find good arguments there in that article we read that begins with startling finds on teenage brains, I think. Young people have lots of restrictions put on them. Therefore, it's hypocritical to treat them like adults, right? When it comes to committing crimes, that was the article, kids are kids until they commit crimes. So you could use that. The mental health system and the judicial system is partly to blame for the crimes committed by young people. That's juveniles don't deserve to be tried as adults. I forget the name of the article, but it starts with juveniles don't. All these articles you can find, if you go back to those assignments when you had to annotate them, or you could just go to your Google Docs and you'll see your annotated article. And then trying someone as an adult throws away that person's chances of rehabilitation, whereas juvenile detention facilities focus on rehabilitation. That's really the videos. So young kids hard time and when kids get life. But you can find extra articles on that, I'm sure. Then if you want to try the person under 18 as an adult, the main article was on punishment and teen killers. And there's three main arguments there. One is that the victims of violent crimes should be considered, not just the people who commit the crimes. The teen's brain is not the primary reasons why teens commit crimes. They say if that were the case, then there'd be the same crime rates in other countries, but there isn't. And then it also, there's a minor argument about how the U.S. is actually pretty light when it comes to teen prison sentences compared to other countries. So that's all in there. I think there's a few other arguments you can make that really don't show up in any of the articles you read, but you'd have to search for other articles to find. The severity of the crime should match the severity of the punishment. No matter how young a person is, there are still certain things that he or she could do to forfeit his or her right to live a free life. Like, it's just, you do this, it doesn't matter how old you are, right? So I think you could find some articles that would argue those points as well. And again, whatever you're arguing, make the argument, give the evidence, right? Quote, okay? And then take that evidence and take exactly what's quoted and apply it to the story. So you're or to the court case. So you have to go back into the court case, find some specific things. You can even, well, I wouldn't quote from this, but you can even use the same words. You don't really have to quote it. It's just the facts of the case. But you can go back in there and say, in the information given about the court case, this person was this old, or whatever facts you want to give. This person was psychologically abused, mentally abused by his father. Like, say whatever is actually in the court case, and then connect the two ideas. Whatever your argument is, right? One of these down here, and apply that to the court case that's listed up here. You need to connect the two. If you don't do that, it's going to be tough to get a good grade. Okay. Remember, I'm available for drafts. If you want to bring me a draft on Thursday, on Friday, or on Monday, you could just stop in 0 period, 1st period, before school, after school, lunch. I'm here. You could also send me an email to warn me you're coming in if you want. But let me know. Okay, I hope that was helpful.